There's a strange law that governs the human mind. The more tightly we hold on to something, the more it slips away. We cling to goals, to people, to dreams, and the harder we grasp, the more distant they become. Yet, when we finally surrender, when we stop forcing, controlling, and demanding, what we wanted most often finds its way back to us. It feels paradoxical, even unfair, but it's one of the oldest psychological truths. The moment you let go, life begins to flow again. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing resistance. It's the psychological shift from obsession to openness, from control to trust. In Jungian terms, it's the ego surrendering its illusion of dominance. The ego believes it can command reality, that by wanting hard enough, we can bend life to our will. But the deeper self, what Jung called the self with a capital S, knows that life unfolds through alignment, not force. When you let go, you stop trying to dominate the current, and instead, you begin to move with it. The reason letting go works is rooted in psychology and biology. When you desperately want something, a relationship, success, approval, your body enters a state of tension. The nervous system interprets that tension as fear. You release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, signaling to your mind that you are in danger. Desire turns into anxiety. The more you chase, the more your body associates the goal with threat, not joy. And because the brain seeks safety, it unconsciously pushes the thing you want further away. You repel what you crave because your energy says, "I don't have it." True letting go rewires that loop. It restores calm, which the mind interprets as safety. When you feel safe, you become magnetic. You stop chasing, and things start arriving naturally. Psychologists call this cognitive detachment. The ability to desire without dependency. You still want the outcome, but you no longer need it to feel complete. You stop demanding that life give you what you want, and instead, you open space for life to deliver what's aligned. Detachment isn't apathy. It's trust, the kind that says, "I'll do my part, and the rest will unfold as it should." Carl Jung described this process as a reconciliation between the conscious and unconscious mind. The conscious mind says, "I want this." The unconscious asks, "But do you trust that you deserve it?" If your desire is built on fear, fear of loss, fear of unworthiness, fear of lack, then the unconscious resists. Letting go heals that resistance. It tells the psyche, "I no longer need to control everything. I am safe even in uncertainty." That safety unlocks creativity, intuition, and timing, the three ingredients of real manifestation. We live in a culture obsessed with control. We're taught to chase, to hustle, to dominate outcomes. Every book, every quote, every guru says, "Don't stop until you win." But psychological reality is more subtle. The mind, when overexerted, becomes rigid, and a rigid mind can't adapt. Life flows through flexibility, not force. The harder you fight against uncertainty, the more exhausted you become. Letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's knowing when to stop pushing and start listening. In relationships, this principle becomes most visible. The more we cling to someone, to their attention, affection, or validation, the more suffocated they feel. Our attachment sends the message that love is conditional, that connection is a form of control. Jung wrote that most relationships fail because people project their unlived emotions onto each other. We cling to people not because we love them freely, but because they hold the parts of ourselves we haven't accepted. Letting go of them means retrieving those parts, reclaiming our completeness. When we stop trying to control love, love starts to breathe again. Letting go is also essential in creativity and ambition. Think about how inspiration works. It rarely arrives when you're straining for it. It comes in stillness, in the shower, on a walk, or during sleep. The subconscious speaks in silence. When the mind stops forcing, the deeper intelligence awakens. That's why great ideas appear when you least expect them. The mind is most powerful when relaxed. Letting go is how the conscious mind gets out of the unconscious mind's way. Modern psychology describes this as flow state, the condition where effort and ease merge. It happens when action replaces overthinking. Flow can't be commanded, it must be allowed. Athletes, artists, and thinkers all know this truth. The more you focus on control, the more you lose rhythm. Letting go restores rhythm. It's not passivity, it's precision, the ability to act without resistance. When you release the need for perfection, performance improves. What was once forced becomes fluid. But why is letting go so hard? Because control gives the illusion of safety. The mind fears surrender because it equates uncertainty with danger. Many of us grew up in environments where control meant survival, where letting go meant losing power, love, or approval. The nervous system learned that safety comes from holding tight, but as adults, that same mechanism creates suffering. What once protected us now imprisons us. Letting go feels like dying because the ego built its identity around control. But in truth, it's a rebirth, a return to natural order. Jung said that transformation always requires a symbolic death, the death of what no longer serves the soul. When you let go, the old self dissolves. The controlling self, the fearful self, the impatient self. It's painful because the ego clings to the familiar, even when it hurts. But once the attachment breaks, peace enters. The silence after letting go is not emptiness, it's spaciousness. It's the room your soul needs to breathe. You start to realize that control was never real. You never truly controlled outcomes, only your resistance to them. The job you lost, the person who left, the opportunity that vanished, all of it forced you into alignment with something deeper. The pain of loss was never punishment, it was preparation. Letting go reveals that life is not happening to you, but through you. The more you align with that truth, the less you chase, and the more you attract. This is what modern spiritual psychology calls non-attachment. It doesn't mean indifference. It means appreciation without possession. You can love deeply without clinging, pursue goals passionately without fear, and dream boldly without despair. Non-attachment is freedom from outcome. It's the ability to hold life gently, open-handed, not closed-fisted. Everything you grip too tightly eventually breaks, but everything you hold with grace endures. In therapy, this principle appears as acceptance. Acceptance is not resignation. It's the willingness to see reality clearly without denial. When you stop fighting what is, you release the tension that blocks change. The paradox is that acceptance itself is what allows transformation. Carl Rogers, the father of humanistic psychology, said it best. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. The same is true for life. When you accept circumstances as they are, you create the calm necessary for growth. Letting go also dismantles the illusion of time. The ego obsesses over past and future, replaying regrets and rehearsing outcomes. But the psyche, Jung said, exists outside of time. It operates in cycles, not lines. When you let go, you return to presence. The only state where transformation is possible. You stop reliving the past or predicting the future, and instead experience the eternal now. And in that presence, everything aligns, because presence itself is wholeness. There's a quiet freedom that comes when you stop demanding from life. The constant striving, comparing, and competing begin to fade. You realize that you don't need to chase what's meant for you. What's truly aligned doesn't require control. It comes through resonance, not force. When your energy is calm, you draw things naturally. This isn't magic, it's psychology. People, opportunities, and ideas respond to emotional frequency. The calmer your state, the clearer your path. Of course, letting go doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing your best, then releasing attachment to the result. It's participation without obsession. You still take action. You just don't worship the outcome. You learn to trust timing. Jung wrote about synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that occur when the inner and outer worlds align. These synchronicities multiply when you stop controlling. Because when the mind is still, it can finally notice the signals life is sending. You begin to see patterns, not random events, but guidance. The right person calls, the opportunity arrives, the solution appears. It feels mysterious, but it's not. The unconscious has always been orchestrating connections beyond conscious reach. Letting go simply opens your awareness to them. It allows life to collaborate with you instead of resisting you. When you trust, life speaks more clearly. Psychologically, this shift also heals the nervous system. Letting go activates the parasympathetic state, the body's mode of safety and restoration. When you're relaxed, your intuition sharpens. You make better decisions. You become less reactive and more receptive. From that state, you notice doors that control would have kept closed. Letting go is not passive. It's powerful. It aligns biology, emotion, and awareness into coherence. That coherence draws clarity, and clarity draws success. But you'll only understand this once you've experienced the exhaustion of control. Once you've tried everything, forced, begged, overthought, and still found emptiness. Only then does surrender become possible. At that breaking point, something ancient awakens. The realization that life doesn't need your panic to function. The sun rises, seasons change, hearts heal, and ideas bloom, all without control. The more you observe nature, the more you see that letting go is the rhythm of existence. Even the trees let go of their leaves to survive winter. Everything in nature trusts the cycle. Only the human mind resists it. Jung believed that the psyche mirrors nature. It too operates through cycles of holding and releasing. Growth requires both. The mind must hold long enough to learn, but release quickly enough to evolve. When you overstay in control, you stagnate. When you let go too soon, you avoid growth. Wisdom lies in timing, in sensing when to persist and when to release. This sensitivity develops through awareness, not strategy. You learn it by listening to your intuition, by honoring fatigue, by noticing resistance. Letting go becomes not a one-time act, but a lifestyle of trust. Slowly you realize that every great change in your life happened after surrender. The moment you stopped chasing someone who didn't value you, the right person appeared. The day you stopped obsessing over money, new opportunities emerged. The second you released anxiety about success, creativity flowed freely again. Letting go creates space for life to surprise you. Control leaves no room for miracles. Surrender makes them inevitable. Psychology has a term for this: psychological flexibility. It's the ability to adapt without losing identity. People with high flexibility experience less stress and more fulfillment. They don't cling to fixed outcomes. They adjust, evolve, and trust process. This flexibility isn't natural. It's learned. It comes through pain, through loss, through the humility of realizing that life doesn't always follow our plans. Letting go is the ultimate act of humility, the acknowledgement that control was never ours to begin with. As you practice letting go, something inside begins to shift. You become lighter, quieter, more patient. You begin to prefer peace over performance. The old you, anxious, calculating, fearful, starts to fade. What replaces it is awareness, a gentle confidence that says, "Whatever happens, I'll be okay." That's not resignation. It's mastery. The person who trusts life is the most powerful person of all, because nothing can threaten someone who no longer clings. In the end, everything you want truly does come when you let go. Not because of magic, but because of alignment. When you release desperation, you stop blocking flow. When you release fear, you become receptive to intuition. And when you release control, you align with the intelligence that governs life itself. The things you wanted were never running away from you. They were waiting for you to relax, so stop gripping so tightly. Stop forcing outcomes. Do your work, plant your seeds, and then step back. Let the universe breathe between your efforts. Let timing do what timing does best. The things meant for you cannot miss you, but they won't arrive until you make space. And the only way to make space is to let go. Because control is heavy. Trust is light. And everything you've been chasing is already on its way to meet the version of you that's finally ready to receive it.